الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله قاصر الجبار مبين الظالمين مدرك الحاقدين، والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأرضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين تراب أقدامهم فداه. ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra and Nabil, for the enlightenment of the birds of Yom al-Hameen, of the birds of Shuhada and Awan, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety of the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Allahu al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one who is Ahwan and one who is Rahim. In yesterday's discussion, we analyzed the lines from Dua Iftitah, فَكَمْ يَا إِلَهِي مِنْ كُرْبَةٍ قَدْ فَرَّجْتَهَا. That what is it, oh my Lord, how many troubles, how many difficulties have you removed from me? How many sorrows? And I said that, we're generally very short-sighted. We view something in one particular light and only within that light. When there's some sort of difficulty or some sort of trial or tribulation within our life, we think of it as something negative, but we don't realize that actually this is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. And it moves us towards our refinement. The tests, the trials and everything is a refinement of ourselves. In Nahj al-Balagha, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi was-salam, he says that there are certain individuals that live within this world, but their minds, their souls are within the Illiyin. Their souls dwell within the Illiyin. And they are those that have been tempered by the tests of this world, that the world has tested them and forged them into something more complex, more stronger than they actually were before. It's the same concept when we take metal and we heat it and we cool it and we hit it with a hammer and we repeat this process over and over, we attain a very, very sharp blade, because it's been constantly tested. And these tests that we get in this world, and many of the Urafa of Allah, sometimes our du'as are not in our favor. When we do dua, we don't do it in our favor. We look at it short term. And I know that a few people who have had maybe they were inclined towards spirituality of some sort and they wanted to. So they looked at the tests of others, looked at their own lives and realized that they didn't have enough tests. And it's a sign that Allah loves someone when He tests them. And so, foolishly, possibly, they did a dua that, oh Allah, I have not had any tests. Where is my test now? One almost died, went through a very long illness, and just about survived. and the other went through a very, very bad sort of family type problem, which he really had to come out. But yes, they came out much stronger, more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's the mindset of when you ask for the dua, sometimes you get what you wish for, and that test may not be something that you're mentally prepared for. But tests as a whole, they come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a refinement of ourselves to make us better. And we left it at this part that after the supplicant, because you think that the supplicant is about to do dua, he's about to, فَاسْمَعْ يَا سَمِيعُ مِدْحَتِي, that you've allowed me to speak to you, so now listen to what I have to say. And just as he's about to pray, he falls into this thought. He says, wait, hold on a second. فَكَمْ يَا إِلَهِي مِنْ قُرْبَةٍ قَدْ فَرَجْتَهَا, that you've already done so much for me. You've already done so much for me that how can I even bring it to my tongue? And after we've said this bit, then there's another point of reflection. فَإِنْ أَبْطَعَ عَنِّي عَجَبْتُ بِجَهْلِي إِلَيْكَ وَلَعَلَّ الَّذِي أَبْطَعَ عَنِّي وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لِي لِعِلْمِكَ بِعَاقِبَةِ الْأُمُورِ فَلَمْ أَرَ مَوْلًا كَرِيمًا أَصْبُرُ عَلَى عَبْدٍ لَئِيمٍ مِنْكَ عَلَيَّ. That my Lord, not only have you given me this, and now I acknowledge that you've taken away all these difficulties from me, I understand this. But then he falls back into more contemplation, more thinking. He thinks to himself, he says, my Lord, whenever there was a temporary setback or your reply didn't come to me quick enough for what I asked for, I turned around and I began to question you. In my jahl, in my ignorance, I turned around and I began to despair. That why is it that he isn't answering me? Although it was you slowing down that blessing for me. I do dua and sometimes I question, why is it that my dua is not being answered? Why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not responding? I've been asking for this for years, and for us years is a long time, but it's a fleeting moment when you reach a certain age. A year just goes by. It's all subjective on how you perceive time. And so we've been asking for years and everything, oh, why is it that Allah doesn't, maybe there's no hope. And in this we announce our kufr, that we do ya'as. We despair of the mercy of Allah, that He is not going to be the one that answers my dua. But sometimes He slowed it down for a reason. And so many times in our lives we come across these situations where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not answer our dua straight away, and we're a bit upset about it. And then later on we realize, actually, had I been given what I'd asked for there and then, it probably wasn't good for me. I would have ended up, I don't know, wasting that money, or I would have ended up doing this with it or that with it. Or I would have, end up, I'm praying, for example, to go somewhere, to go on holiday, to be given this opportunity to go on ziyarah, to go. And then, or something like that. And I go and the plane blows up. Or I don't go, but the plane blows up. And sometimes it's an extreme example, but this is like, we have it at smaller levels. When we do our du'as, it doesn't get accepted. But if we look closely, there are certain actions and there is a hikmah in why it wasn't given to us. And there's a hidden blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes our du'as are not accepted because of the hikmah of Allah. Rather, we just don't know how to ask. We don't know the adab of dua. We think we just sit down and say, Ya Allah, please give me this, Ya Allah, give me this, Ya Allah, it doesn't work like that. Rather, this dua is showing that you need to reflect on everything that you're doing. You contemplate. Inshallah, in the later nights, we'll talk about what are the stages of tafakkur according to the Imams. That there's 5 things that you should contemplate over, and this is what is tafakkur, and this is what is equivalent to 70 years worth of ibadah, not just me sitting and thinking about, my business or whatever. No. See, what tafakkur does for us is it allows us to be able to analyze our lives. Certain times we're forced into thought. We're forced into questioning our actions. There was one individual who used to come and pray Salat in the first rak'ah every single day in Salat al-Jama'at. Always, regardless of what happened, he was always in the first rak'ah. And he used to run to make it to the first rak'ah. And we have people like that, this is their maqam. When they die, bury them here as well. Jum'ah, that's the person that's going to give iqamah, no one else. We have these problems in certain communities. But this person is the one that does it, only and only this person. And so he says that I was one of these people, run and I'd go and pray. One day I got late from work. When I turned up, the first row was filled. I had to go and pray in the second row. And the whole time I was angry with myself. Why is it that I didn't get a chance to pray in the first row? Why isn't it that I made it on time? Now I have to stand in the second row. And then he goes, and then it dawned on me that actually I had been praying this whole time for the first row, not to Allah. I'd been praying so that I could stand in the first row, so that I could be, so people could see, this is the one that stands behind the Maulana in the first row. This is the one that does the dua. This is the one that does that. And since I realized, he went to his marja at the time. And he said that I realized that I prayed all my salah for the sake of the first row. The reply came, and this is not like a young man, like 50, 60 years old. The reply came, then you must redo all your salah. Certain maraji were more stricter than others, those that were more inclined towards spirituality and stuff. So you must redo all 60 years, all of them. Because all you did is pray for the first row, you didn't pray to Allah. Shaheed Mutahari, he went to see Alawat Watwai, and Alawat Watwai said to him, then tell me, how is it that you concentrate in your prayer? How is it that you pray? He says, well, I concentrate and, I focus. He says, how do you concentrate? He says, I go through the translation in my head. I recite the Arabic and the translation is in my head, and I concentrate and I go through the translation in my head. Alawat Watwai replies, he says, so when do you actually pray? He says, so when do you actually pray? Shaykh Mutahari. Alawat Watwai is saying to him, he says, when do you actually pray? When are you actually praying? Because all you're doing is focusing on the translation. You're not focusing on Allah. And see, this is that concept of shirk al-khafi, where the ulama speak about the hidden shirk. When a person, Alawat Watwai and Imam Khomeini, they were of the opinion that a person who thinks about anything other than Allah in their salah has committed shirk. Think about anything else other than Allah has committed shirk. Shirk al-khafi. This is a big statement. There were many people that, Al-Imam Mujtahidi used to say that the sinners must do istighfar from their sin, and the abidan, the worshippers, must do istighfar from their worship. That the type of worship that we do isn't even worthy of Allah. So I don't commit sin, but I worship. But is my worship worthy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, my mind is elsewhere. I'm doing something else. When I pray, so we do istighfar for our prayers. And he said maybe this is the hikmah why after Salat al-Asr and Salat al-Dhuhr we have 70 times istighfar as a recommended thing to do. this concept of doing istighfar for our sins, for our worships, because they're not good enough. It's a higher level, I mean, something that we're still worried about, not committing sins. Great individuals, they don't become great. Al-Tala Kashf al-Ghita was once asked, they said to him that, how is it possible that the Imams couldn't commit sin? That you said they had the ability to commit sin, but they didn't commit sin. How is that possible that they could attain that ismat, the living in this world? There's sin all around us. He says, you ask about the Imams, and you ask about sin. He says, I, Kashif al-Ghita, have not committed a makruh act for 40 years. A makruh act. A mutashabih, it's makruh. He says, I, Kashif al-Ghita, haven't committed a makruh act for 40 years. People, what is our level? Where are we running our lives at? What sort of understanding? There's such a difference between us and the awliya of Allah. But they're no different to us, if that makes sense. They're exactly the same as us. They grew up in this society. They grew up in a society which had haram in it as well. But yet, here's one individual who says, for 40 years I haven't committed a single makruh. It's difficult living here, where relatively everything is some sort of makruh attached to it. Toilets have water in them. Makruh to go to toilet over water. Various things. Our showers, are they really fulfilling the right of qurb? They're not coming out with enough power, so by the end, by the time they reach the bottom, it's only drops. It's not a constant flow of qurb. Can that really make us tahir? On this level of, shak, and until we can ascertain, we carry on our lives. But there's a lot that we do in our lives that we don't actually focus on. We don't focus on that. Is this making me tahir or not? Where is this? I've drank this water, but did I get the permission of the person? I was like, no, it's okay. It's our own house, and all these things, they have an effect on how we perceive and what we do, and how that reflects in our spirituality. So when we reach this part, we say, Ya Rab, innaka tad'uni fa'uwalli anka. That you invite me towards you, but I turn away. I don't know how to do dua. Constantly Allah is inviting me. He invites me, but I turn away. You love me, but I don't respond. I don't reciprocate. You offer your affection, and I don't respond to it. You show me love, but I say that it's as if you are overreaching towards me. And we spoke about this in depth the other night. But yet, you still don't abstain from bestowing those favors upon me. Right? You invited me, but I turned away. Allah's constantly inviting us. The divine breath blows towards an individual. That feeling of religiosity, that's that divine breath blowing, saying, my heart, come back towards me. When we feel religious, we feel enlightened, we feel more inclined, we hear something, we listen to a dua, we hear a lecture, we do something, we have a near-death experience, and we start to become more religious. And then eventually it all sorts of, wastes away, and we don't really concentrate on it, because, there's a number of reasons, but the most prevalent reason is the fact that we overburden ourselves. When we start feeling a bit more religious, we get that divine breath. We think, yes, I'm going to do this. So then, I start praying all my mustahabbat. I start praying Salatul Layl. I start praying Ziyarat Ashura. I start doing this tasbih. I start doing that amal. And so I can do it for 3 days. But the 4th day, I'm like, this is not working out. And I get tired. And then slowly one thing gets lost and lost and lost, and then I return back to my life. Rather, we need to build it up. We need to slowly phase ourselves into it. The wajibat, there's no building up. If you don't pray namaz, game over. You don't wear hijab, game over. You know, like, this is as simple as it gets. It's, you know, very plain. But it's this gradual, we have to phase ourselves in. If I don't know, if I can't pray all 11 rakats of Salat al-Layl, because when I think about it, it makes me really tired and I just think, oh no, I can't do it. So okay, so then leave out the first 8 rakats of Salat al-Layl and recite the 2 rakats of Salat al-Shifa and the 1 rakat of Salat al-Witr. And if I can't recite, you know, those 10 rakats because it's too much for me, then just recite the 1 rakat of Salat al-Witr. And if for me in the qunut, because you know we have Allahumma ghfirli 40 mu'mineen, and then we have astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayhi 70 times, and then we هذا مقام الأعوذ بك من النار 7 times, and al-'afw 300 times. And if I think that's too much for me, that I can't recite that, all those dhikr, because I'm not used to it, so then I reduce the dhikr. If that's too much for me, I just recite salawat in the qunut, and I just pray that 1 rakat of Salat al-Witr with salawat in the qunut, I will still get the benefit of Salat al-Layl. But never leave the teachers of akhlaq saying, ease yourself into it. Even if it means you just recite salawat in the qunut of your Salat al-Witr, but don't leave Salat al-Layl. Don't leave it. Pray it. One of the signs of the believers that they pray Salat al-Layl. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He calls us towards Him. Sometimes because of our sins, we turn towards Him, but we can't really commit. You know, she wears a hijab for a little while, but then, you know, too much pressure takes it off. Because the connection with Allah is not strong, the ma'rifah is not there. So then I can't, you know, connect with Allah. I start praying a little bit, but it slides away. Because I haven't thought about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even though Allah, we constantly sin and we constantly turn away from Him. You know, we go towards Him, then we turn away. We go towards Him, we turn away. You know, even though we do that, He still bestows His mercies upon us. As if we haven't done anything. He offers us that affection even though we don't, you know, we respond with disinterest. Like, you know, He shows us His love constantly. The fact that I'm alive. You know, I wake up in the morning and I'm alive, and it's like, you know, that is my blessing from Him. Now, how do I utilize it? You know, I spend a whole day forgetting about it and not doing any salah, or not inclining myself towards Allah, or thinking about my sins, or thinking about my worship. Rather, I, you know, arrogantly turn around and start thinking all the achievements in my life are from me. And one of the requirements of dua is that we stand humble in front of Allah. No, it's Laylatul Qadr tonight. And unfortunate is the one that, you know, is unable to benefit from Laylatul Qadr. Unfortunate is the one that hasn't been able to benefit from Laylatul Qadr. You know, we have one more opportunity tonight. The greatest act in this night, you know, from amongst this, like, the narrations, they say certain acts are more recommended. The greatest of the actions is gaining knowledge about Allah in this night, the ma'rifah of Allah. And so, inshallah, we'll have like a small Q&A where we can learn off each other as well. Istighfar, doing istighfar, contemplating. You know, like I said the other night, we have this checklist that need to do this, need to do this, need to do this. Yes, they're mustahabbat, but the most recommended thing, I mean, honestly, if you were to sit at the back and just pick up a book and read a book about Islam, that probably is more beneficial to us sitting there and reciting, you know, 100 times Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayhi while looking at the clock. Or, you know, reciting Surah Rum and Surah Dukhan and Surah Ankabut while flicking forward pages. It is just no good to us. We're better off just sitting in a corner and thinking about our lives, and just not talking to anyone. You know, honestly, as-samtu shu'ar al-anbiya, that silence is the cry of the anbiya. Silence is one of those things that allows a person to progress towards Allah much faster than anything else. It's a blessing from Allah. So I'd much rather sit in the corner and stay quiet than recite dua after dua where I, you know, reach the point, my knees are going, and I'm like, Or then, this concept that we have created of the 100 rakat namaz. First and foremost, why have we got 5 or 6 days worth of qada? What went wrong? That's the first point. The second point is that, why do we only wait till Laylatul Qadr to do it? Okay, I've got this many qada, I'll wait till next Laylatul Qadr, I'll knock off another 5. So who's going to be alive till next Laylatul Qadr? This generally, the whole concept of qada salah that we recite, it's something that we have created. The recommendation is 100 rakat salah in units of 2, 50 units of 2, and they are recited in a certain way. But then, you can't recite mustahabbat if you have wajib qada, or you can't do any mustahab roza if you have a wajib fast outstanding. So, taking that idea, we've said, well, okay then, why don't we just do 6 days worth of qada salah? Itself is a problem. It's an indication of how broken we are. That, Laylatul Qadr is here for us to benefit from the absolute majesty of God. And we're so broken that we're still trying to make up for 5 days worth of wajib salah. This is a night of mustahabbat. Laylatul Qadr, the observation of Laylatul Qadr itself is it's a mustahab night. If I have wajibat outstanding, I'm never going to be able to benefit from the night anyway. If I'm going to come to Laylatul Qadr and all I'm going to do is just mess around or talk or sit on my phone or go and meet with my friends or mingle with people and talk to them while the dua is happening, then I'm better off going home and doing the most makruh act on this night, and that is sleeping. Because that sleeping is better for me. We come and we make Laylatul Qadr like some sort of camp for the kids, or we make it a camp for ourselves. Yeah, we all stay up all night and we eat and we do everything and then we fast. Laylatul Qadr is far more. Tanazzalul malaikatu wal ruh. The malaika Ruh al-Qudus is descending upon earth. The earth is becoming so constrained with the amount of angels that have descended. There is tightness on the earth. The earth is bursting. But we have these cultural practices where we don't benefit. Laylatul Qadr, this is a time where actually this is one night, if ever there was a night to force your children to sit down and listen to dua and not talk, it's Laylatul Qadr. So at least you set that seed in their minds, that future, later on they understand how important this night is, how important the 19th was, how important the 21st was, how important the 23rd is. These are the things that a lot of the times we do so many of these things and it's just so irrelevant because we're so broken inside and we do everything superficial on top. How would I react? And this really, gives us how superficial our religion is. How would I react if the 12th Imam walked in and he turned out to be black? How would I react? How would I view him? No, the black man cannot be the Imam. It's not possible. Why? How? But what's wrong with the Imam being black? What's wrong with it? In fact, actually, let's leave that aside. Let's go from the 6th Imam. 6th Imam's wife, black lady from North Africa. 7th Imam, half black. 7th Imam's wife, black lady from Africa. 8th Imam, born. 8th Imam's wife, again, lady from Africa. Yes, black lady. 9th Imam, 10th Imam, 11th Imam, all of them. 11th Imam, Hazrat Narjis, we hear the story of her being a Roman princess. There is absolutely no sanad for that. Riwayat is incorrect. The one that has a slightly better sanad is she was a Sudanese princess from the Berber tribe. I'll let people Google what the Berbers look like. So now you've got 6 Imams whose mothers were black. But I go to Iran and Iraq and I see these Persian-looking Imams and these Iraqi and Arab-looking Imams. Yes, our books have been whitewashed. They've been Persianized, they've been Arabicized because of the culture. How do you think, it probably is not computing for many of us, like, what? What is he saying? Astaghfirullah. And some of us may be thinking Astaghfirullah, which is really Astaghfirullah on that thought as well, that why is black so bad? So look at this, take the example, 8th Imam, he's in the hammam, you hear the story every year, or every time, many people. 8th Imam's in the hammam, someone says to him, scrub my back. Imam scrubs his back. He goes out, and someone says, hey, what do you do? That was the 8th Imam. You got the 8th Imam to scrub your back. And he's like, oh my God. So he goes out and says, Ibn Rasulillah, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Imam says, oh, it doesn't matter. But tell me, would one Arab turn to another Arab and tell him, scrub my back? Unless, of course, you mistook that person for being a slave because of the color of his skin. So now, how superficial is our Islam? Our Islam is butt skin deep. It is based on color. And we want to come on Laylatul Qadr and recite all of these things when we're so broken inside. We're so broken on so many different levels that we can never benefit from Laylatul Qadr. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ. What will you understand of the night of Qadr? I'm asking, it's a rhetorical question. So what are you going to understand from it? You can't comprehend what's here. You can only come pick up some crumbs that are available and pray and hope that Allah answers. The whole religion that we've created. And this whole cultural stuff that we need to do this, that. But like I said to you, Laylatul Qadr, ibadat as a whole, like the mustahab ibadat, it is best done in secrecy. تضرعا وخفيئة. Call out to your Lord, beseechingly and in secret. This whole ijtima'i thing that we have is because obviously some people can't read Arabic. It's another, an inclination towards how broken we are, that I can't read the du'as, or I can't read Quran, I can't concentrate in worship, so I need other people around me to kind of help. And then, we also use the side thing of maybe there's someone there whose dua is accepted, one of the awliya of Allah, whose dua is accepted, and so by the barakah of that wali of Allah, our du'as are accepted as well. And this is in its place. Yes, it has its place. But the point I'm trying to make is not that don't do Laylatul Qadr. No, it's not that. Layali al-Qadr are there for us not to sit and start squeezing our knees and be like, Josh and Kabir, some of the lines are about, for knee pain, and some people start reciting it because it's like number 70 something and they need to rub their knees or something. That's effectively what our religion has become, that it's become one of ta'weezes and short-term fixes and instantaneous relief, whereas it's so much more. And so we recite all of these things, but I'm telling you honestly, if the moment your mind turns off, where you can't concentrate, just walk away. Just go home. Go to sleep. It's better for you. Better for you than to sit around and then, distract the person next to you or start looking at something about worldly affairs. No, what you've done is enough for you. Khalas, go. Because that's what Allah needs. He needs concentration. Doesn't need words to be regurgitated. This dua after that dua after this dua. I recite, people recite dua after ta, and we recite dua kumayn. Not a single tear falls from our eyes. What's the point? What's the point if I can't cry in dua? Or if I'm afraid sitting amongst people that someone might look at me because I'm crying in a dua that everyone else doesn't usually cry at. Then there's no point me being amongst the people. If I'm alone and I can recite dua, 50 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes, depending on what recitation, of dua Abu Hamza's Thumali, from start to finish a person should be crying. Dua Kumail from start to finish a person should be praying. Because there's so much in there that we're asking, but because we don't understand it, we do it part of our tradition and our culture, and this is how we've done it. You know, the religion just becomes that tick box for us. We just tick it, yeah, okay, great, I feel really good, I did this today, did that today, did this today. You know, prayed 100 rakat, you know, salah. Well, it was by qadha, I should have really done them earlier on in my life, but I'm doing it now. So I did that, and I'm ticking it all off. And how did I pray? وَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ. The Quran says that woe unto those that pray. Why? Because sahun, they're in their salah and they're not attentive. You know, I pray 100 rakat so fast for you here, 5 days. By the end of it, everyone's head, everyone's knees, everyone's nose is hurting, and that's what we're thinking about. Then, oh my God, can you recite faster? Can you recite slower? Because that's it. That ibadat is useless. You know, Allama Tabari is saying to Sheikh Mutahari that how do you concentrate in salah? And Sheikh Mutahari is saying to him, I think about the translation, and Allama Tabari is saying to him, when do you actually pray? Then what we do, everything that we do. Okay. How is it that we stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And this is, you know, effectively what we're saying here, that Allah gives us these opportunities, but we're disinterested, we're unattentive, we're unaware of what He wants. He shows us love, but we don't reciprocate it. It's as if He's trying to overreach to us. And then when we want to do something, we're sort of like, yeah, Allahumma gfir li adh-dhunub allati tahdusu ad-du'a, Allahumma gfir li adh-dhunub. There is no greater disrespect. If someone is sitting in this hall and they're talking at the back and it annoys me because I believe it to be disrespectful, then how about my du'as that I do? That all these du'as I do, and I'm sitting there, I'm looking at what someone else is doing, looking at someone who's coming in, someone who's going out. I'm looking at my phone, checking the time. How much longer till suhoor? Why did they bring on the slow reciter? All of these things. You know, then it's wasted, isn't it? This is, in fact, not just, the ibadat is not just wasted, it is a disrespect to Allah. That if I'm talking to you, or you're talking to me, and I start turning around going, yeah, no, yeah. So what would you do? You say there's no one ruder than this man. That he's not even looking at me. That when I'm speaking, he's too busy doing something else. It's annoying. This is the Lord of the worlds that I'm in front of. I can't concentrate. I need to time everything. Okay, it needs to finish in 10 minutes. This dua, look, you know, and there are places like this. This dua, come in 15 minutes, please. Huh? Any longer than that, you know, it puts our schedule up. 15 minutes. Schedule. What schedule is there in the eternal realms? There is no schedule. There is no, you know, this is ibadat. No matter how much you do, it's still not enough. But we wait for one day in the year to get together and feel really happy that we're doing something and making up for 5 days worth of qadha that I shouldn't have even had in the first place if I'd been a proper Muslim. See how we're broken as a society. As a Muslim society, as the followers of Ahlul Bayt, that we're fractured, we're broken so much that I don't know how to pray, I don't know how to turn to Him. And then we sit in arrogance, you know, like I'm talking to you, but at the same time, you know, you're listening to me attentively, but I'm like, yeah, you know, and not giving you that attention. You yourself would think, oh, what an arrogant individual. But we do exactly that when we go to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We do it every single day. 15th of Sha'ban, we do the same. Laylatul Qadr, we do the same. Honestly, I'm telling you. And you know, it will make me very unpopular amongst many people, and you know, frankly, the reality is reality. I don't come to a place to be invited back again. I say what needs to be said, whether people like it or not, unfortunately, you know. And if I'm wrong, then I'm willing to accept I'm wrong. But you know, to be honest, this whole concept of Laylatul Qadr, if you're coming only to flip pages forward, go home. It's not worth it. Go home, sit alone, stay away, just think about life. Just, that's better. Or just, if you think that you can't concentrate in dua, just pick up a religious book and just start reading it. If you don't think that you can do that, pick up the Quran, start reading the translation. That is better for you than these multitude of Joshin Kabirs and this surah and that surah and that. Because it's without concentration. Obviously the Joshin Kabir, the surahs, the a'mal, everything, this is hugely beneficial to you if you concentrate. It's hugely beneficial if you focus. But if our mind's elsewhere, then why disrespect my Lord in such a way? It's more of a disrespect to Allah than helping. And so when we acknowledge this fact in Dua Iftitah, we say, فَلَمْ يَمْنَعُكَ ذَلِكَ مِنْ رَحْمَتَنِي وَالْإِحْسَانِ إِلَيْهِ وَتَفَضُّلِي عَلَيَّ بِجُودِكَ وَكَرَمِكَ. Turn around and say, Ya Allah, yet you still don't abstain from putting all your mercies on me. He still doesn't. You know, how many Laylatul Qadrs of my life have I dreaded that they begin? I look, oh, it's Laylatul Qadr. Oh, the whole night at the masjid, I have to stay because everyone else will see that I've left early in Laylatul Qadr. So how many Laylatul Qadrs have I dreaded, not actually wanting to worship Him, or not wanting to listen, or not wanting to do dua, because of time, because of work. You know, how many Laylatul Qadrs have I missed because of work? There's so many levels that we are broken on. It says that even though I've done all of this, He's still given me another opportunity to come this Laylatul Qadr. Anything could have happened before you all reached here. Your tire could have, needed repairing and you couldn't make it. Someone could have been ill in your family and you couldn't have made it. One of your children wasn't feeling well and you couldn't. But look, Allah's mercy is such that each and every one of us has made it here today. He's given us the opportunity to turn to Him. So let's turn to Him in this night properly, as He wants us to turn to Him, as is His right to be turned to. This is His right, that we pray to Him in that way, with absolute hopelessness. The sixth Imam says, he says, if you want to do dua, he says, then sit down and think about every person that could help you in this problem. And then think about how they could possibly humiliate you after they've helped you in this difficulty that you have. And once you've thought of everyone that would potentially be able to help you, and all the potential ways that they could humiliate you, and you realize that Allah is the only one that you ask, He gives, He doesn't humiliate you. When you have made yourself humiliated within yourself, then raise your hands for dua. Because then He will listen to you. Because then you have no one else to turn to. There's no one in the back of your mind that I'm going to go to this person or I'm going to go to that person. No, I turn to you. Totally and utterly towards you. To be able to gain that knowledge. So again, I reiterate this fact. The three best actions on this night to do is seeking knowledge of Islam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second is doing istighfar from Allah, from our sins. The third is contemplation. And the fourth being staying awake. The du'as and the surahs and all of this, they come later on. Once I have the ability to concentrate, once I've contemplated, once I've done all of these things. So take this opportunity. I'm here all night. If I can help in any way, if anyone has any questions or anything like that, I think we have a portion of the night where there will be a Q&A. I'm willing to answer these questions and just spend it in a way that we can make ourselves better. in some way, shape or form. If there's a book that you've always wanted to read, an Islamic book that you haven't had a chance to read and you're dreading the amal, then sit down and read that book. This is better for you in this night. So, obviously ideal is that we focus on Allah and do the amal and the du'as, but only if they were focused on contemplation. Pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost gives me the tawfiq to act upon that which I have said. Secondly, He gives you the tawfiq to act upon that which you have heard. Secondly, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins. He forgives the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place in Muhammad and Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa. Oh Allah, those that have asked me for dua for the sake of this night, for the sake of our fasting, Ya Allah, fulfill their hajat. Ya Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time, and allow us to be amongst these true mu'tadilin, curators, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as of the brothers and sisters and more. Please recite your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.